There we go. Oh, wait. Yes. Okay. Let's get everything in order. And let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to our workshop called How to Succeed in Physics Courses. I tried to be as general as I could with this since there are a few physics courses and I would like this to be relevant to other lab courses like biology or other places. So without ado, let us start. So physics courses are generally high unit. So they are generally, especially the first three, physics 21, 22, and 23 are 5-unit courses. And there's other physics like physics 7, physics 8. I'm pretty sure they are 5 units as well. And so they have a very heavy course load. So you need to be prepared for both in class and out of class, right? Just because you do a lot of stuff inside class doesn't mean you can slack off outside, because you also have to do a lot of homework outside of class. So first, in class, we'll talk about how in-class sessions. So when you're talking about in-class sessions, right, or whenever your teacher's doing a lecture or whether your teacher is doing something like teaching you the material, have an open mind in how things work, because it may not seem like common sense at the beginning, especially if you are taking a mechanics class. Visualization or having like a sort of space in your mind where you can imagine these lines being drawn is your best friend, right? So because a lot of physics happens in a 3D space, right? The teacher will relate a lot of stuff to physical things, and having an open mind and visualizing these things, right, will help you understand like how something moves or what a concept is or what you're supposed to do, like how to logically solve a problem using a set procedure. And whenever you're doing these labs, or like these physics courses are also labs, right? And so labs are a very important part for you to actually understand how some equation or some concept actually works. So some people may like it that it's more physical and you can see things, how they work in like a physical lab right here. Some people maybe it's harder to like try to gain a visual idea like in your mind of, oh, this arrow is drawn this way and I have another arrow drawn this way, so I should find the angle between those 2 points or whatever. So that's where labs can help you understand, okay, well, this force does this and this other force does this, right? And it'll help you visualize things in a way that the teacher will help you try to do that whenever you're learning. And lastly, understand the equations and understand how they relate to each other. So a professor will usually have equations along with their lecture. And usually they'll provide proof or they'll show you a reason of why it works, whether it's through real life, it's an observed thing, or whether it's derived from another equation, meaning that it came from another equation, and using other equations that you put into it, you can get a new equation. So understanding how, like, whether an equation came from this or this, right? Like Newton's laws, right? That's a fundamental step. So some laws and stuff like that, those are like fundamental things that you can use to understand more about other physics concepts. So you do need to memorize equations, but memorize them or in a way that you understand how they're going to be used, in what situation they're going to be used, and why we're using them. Okay. And any questions so far? Okay. Next, out of class, right? Out of class is very important because that's where you're going to be doing a lot of your homework.
Sorry, I do have a question.
Yes. Mhm.
As far as the equations, like for the first physics class, is that just going to be based on calculus 1 or calculus 2?
For your, it depends on which major you're doing. I know for like if you want to do something like nursing, or no, actually, yeah, no. I think almost everyone here will take like physics 21, 22, 23 sequence.
Yes, I'm
Somewhat
doing
with
that.
that. Yeah. Are you doing that or not?
Yes. I'm doing
Yes,
that.
yeah. Yeah, so that's mostly STEM things. So I'll mention that. So for physics 21, if I remember correctly, it doesn't use much calculus in the beginning, at least.
Okay.
That's not the course that requires a lot of calculus knowledge. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
That one it does require some knowledge, like basic derivatives and some integrals, maybe. It's been a while, but it's not, they'll teach you that and you can pick it up. So I think you can take it concurrently with.
Okay, so I'm sorry, it's not as if like, I mean, I'm in math 11 right now.
Mhm. Yes,
And
so
I'm
that's
like,
calculus.
yeah, and I'm kind of like wondering, is what's like the most in terms of calculus? Because I know they teach you about vectors, but what's like
Sorry,
the
you're breaking up. Sorry, you're
most-
breaking up.
I am.
Can you turn off your camera just in case, like, just so we can see if there's a better.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Hold on.
Yeah, just try that for a bit.
See.
I think your question was how much
Okay,
calculus
can you hear
does
me now?
a little bit better. Yes.
Yeah, how like okay, how in depth in terms of like the calculus, how in depth is it? Like, because right now we're learning about vectors and like all these different distance
Yeah.
formulas, cross product, all this like
Mhm.
stuff. So like if I get something from that, is it gonna be like the biggest deal, or is it more like you said, derivatives and like basic integration and stuff like that?
So physics 21, it's not a lot or close to none, close to no calculus. If it does do any derivatives or integrals, it's very little and it's very basic. Physics 22 is very different because it deals with electricity. And this one does require you to know the techniques of integration and stuff like that. As for knowing vectors and things, they are important to a degree, right? So understanding I, J, K, or like how things move in a 3D space, that is important, right?
Okay.
But it won't be like calculus intensive physics. Does that make sense?
Okay.
They want you to understand concepts, not equations. Right?
Okay.
The equations help you understand concepts, right? And get to the specifics of what the concept actually is, right? But usually the physics that the teachers are teaching are not calculus classes. Let's just say that. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your physics or your calculus class will help you understand how things move in a 3D space, right? That's a benefit, right? But don't worry about using too much calculus in like physics classes generally.
Okay.
They mostly focus on derivation, like how things relate to each other and concepts behind the equation. Yeah. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
And this is generally, obviously I haven't taken all the physics teachers in SMC. So, but that's just what I've experienced. Cool. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, I'll continue then. So in addition to in-class stuff, like listening to the lectures, doing the labs, taking notes, right? You also have to work on out-of-class activities, such as homework or doing, maybe your teacher has an online assignment that has like an online simulation or something. Don't be afraid to, when you're doing this homework or when you're doing these activities to further your understanding or solidify your understanding on that subject or on that topic, don't be afraid to ask questions. So if you choose a better, so physics professors here will try to help you. So you can email your professor through their preferred method of contact, right? Which is important, and they'll mention it on the syllabus of their office hours or where you should email them, and whether it's on Canvas or however else. And because questions are really, really important in physics, right? You're trying to understand concepts and how they connect to each other. And so when you miss a link, it could be very detrimental for you. Like if you are trying to understand something, or if your teacher expects you to understand this happens and this happens, therefore this happens, okay? And so don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you can't ask your professor, if they're like, if they don't email you back within 24 hours, or if they, or if they just are like unreachable, there's tons of tutoring or help, like for physics, right? For example, our STEM tutoring Zoom right now, right? So you can always ask questions with anyone, right? They'll be happy to help. And and so whenever you're doing the homework, right? Homework in physics is very, 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 very important, right? It's a 5-unit class. You're going to be going through topics like you're eating, I don't know, crackers, right? It's going to be very fast relative to maybe your other courses in other places. But since it's 5 units, you are going through a lot of content. And so practice problems that their teacher will assign are very important to do. And this will help you formulate your questions of whatever you ask, right? And teachers will, they'll assign both conceptual questions and the calculation questions. And you'll take a combination of these two to ask your teacher whatever you need to ask. Because it's better to fully understand the concept and create your logic in how it works, right, in this class, rather than trying to just memorize the formulas and just put them in whenever you think you need them, right? It's better to try to understand it instead of trying to do it that way. And yeah, any questions of what we should do out of class? Okay, cool. And so general tips, keep things organized. You are going through a lot of chapters, and it can easily get lost under the notes, the assignments, the study material, the tests, the labs, and a lot of things that can just like be jumbled up and lost. And so it's important to keep things organized. Do not procrastinate. Procrastination is your worst enemy in physics, especially if you have to complete, I don't know, some homework assignments using from your practice problems, or you have to study for a test or do other things. Yes, Janelle?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had a question just regarding your opinion of taking a difficult math class concurrently with these physics classes. Do you think that that's a good or a bad idea?
So if you're taking calculus, is that the other class?
Yes, but by the time I'll be taking physics, I'll be taking like calculus 2, and then more like, you know, multivariable calculus, these other like discrete math, these things. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if taking them at the same time with physics would be like, you know, a suicide mission, or is it like doable?
It's doable. That's definitely doable. A lot of people have done it, but it's definitely up to you and how you work, because there are people who can do it, and there's also people who can't do it, mostly because of like other what's it called? Other commitments that they have outside of school, right? So you may not have the time to study for both your math and your physics classes, right? And sometimes it just may be harder. Like physics 22 is one of the more harder physics classes, mostly because it does employ a lot of calculus techniques that you need to use, and a 3D space, like a understanding of how things move in a 3D space. And taking them is not together is not impossible. Them itself is like are like 10 units if you combine them together, right? So they'll be your two main classes that you'll be studying for like 80% of the time.
Got it.
Is that fine?
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. So if you think you can handle it, go and try it, right? But it's all up to you. And yeah. So if you think you're good at handling all the physics, all the loads, then that's perfect. And yeah. So again, this is especially important. Don't procrastinate on this. So like especially if you're like, oh, I have a physics test, so I'm just not going to do math until after the physics test. That could work. So that could work, right? But it's not recommended because they're both 5-unit classes and they both do have quite a number of exams, right? So whenever physics ones happens, sometimes, a lot of times, a math one will also happen around the same time, maybe 1 or 2 weeks before or after. So don't procrastinate. Do all the assignments that you can do, and yeah. So don't try to cram all the concepts in one night. Okay, and then this is just a general tip for any class that you have. Have at least one person that you can contact. So make at least like one contact buddy that you'll have in there in case you miss the lesson. Because usually if you miss a lesson, you're missing a lot, right? Or if you miss a lab, sometimes professors require you to say, oh, just ask another person about what they got, and then just answer the questions on your own, right? Some physics professors have videos of their labs, which is helpful, right? You do that, but it's always good to have at least one person in the class to just, or to like tell you something if you're absent, or maybe just to clarify some things if you don't understand. Right now, they usually, a lot of classes usually have Discords. I know since it's in person, some people or some classes don't, but yeah. And yeah, having a person to contact in your class is very helpful. And yeah, okay. Any questions? I need to space. Okay, here we go. Any questions overall? Yeah, this is a very short presentation. So, okay.
How much, question, how much harder is like physics compared to math? Like,
Compared to math?
yeah, like let's say, I don't know, calculus. I mean, I'm like, let's say math 11, for example, because math 11, I only ask about that because it deals with vectors and 3D spaces and all that
Yeah.
type of stuff.
Okay.
So,
sorry, I can't hear that last part. It's a little bit. Sorry, I can't hear that last part. It's a little bit it's very choppy. can you try to speak again? Sorry. Can you try to speak again, or you can just type it in the thing, and then
I
I'll
think
try to
he
answer.
left. Maybe he's
Oh,
like
did he
trying to
leave?
log back in.
Yeah, I think his internet's just really
No,
bad
I'm
right
here.
now. Oh, you're here? Okay.
Oh.
I can't tell because right now I'm sharing screen.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know why, but,
okay.
I keep coming out. How much harder is like physics compared to like calculus? The calculus that deals with like vectors and
Yeah.
spaces.
So, they're both. Okay, of course, there's more difficult classes like physics classes and less difficult ones. But fundamentally, in physics, there's going to be more concepts than pure calculation. Of course, physics does a lot of math with numbers and stuff like that. And calculus also has like, especially calculus 3, right? Has these new concepts that you're learning, right? Where you're trying to integrate and derive multiple variables and you're trying to work with them. So calculus is just a lot of computation, right? You have to learn these new functions and you have to use them in a way where they'll make sense, right? Or they'll make sense is not really a good word, but they'll work, right? And so physics, focusing mostly on the concepts, right, deals with forces, how things move when you apply something. Physics 21 can be easier, right, than calculus 3, right? Some people may say because it uses very minimal calculus, if any. Right? It's been a while since I took physics 21, but it requires very minimal calculus, close to none. And yeah, but something like physics 22, right? It may just be harder because you have to understand how electricity works and how it moves and what the different components do, right? Because physics 22 is one of the more, people say it's one of the more harder ones, physics 22. So if I had to compare them based on like, I don't know, course load, I guess physics would be heavier in terms of course load, right? But calculus depends on each person. I think that'd be a better word. It depends on each person, and it depends how much practice they feel that they need. Is that fine? Does that make sense? Yeah. Right. Some teachers will make homework mandatory. Some won't. Right. It's a hit or miss in any class.
Do teachers give out practice tests, or is that not a thing?
Sorry, can you say, what about practice tests? If there are practice tests?
Yeah. Do they give out like practice exams? Like,
yes. I think the teacher I had was Strohmeyer. He gave practice. He gave practice, a lot of practice for like practice exams, practice tests, and just practice problems.
Like, this is how I want you to answer, and this is what I want to see, type of thing.
Yeah, your teacher will generally give you a guideline of what's expected. Of course, yeah, your teacher will give you a guideline of what's generally expected. But yeah, in SMC, right, there's good professors, and then there's professors who might not tell you what they expect, right, or who might be a little bit more mysterious in their ways of grading. But right? I feel like a lot of physics professors and math, while we're at it, generally have good professors, right? You just have to make sure to choose which ones you think is best for you. So then use rate my professor or the grade distribution and correlate them with whatever class that you want to take. Fine. And so, yeah. Does that make sense? Right? It's like I can't really do a direct comparison between these two, right? But I'll just tell you that it's a lot. So, yeah. Okay. And we were supposed to do an activity, but kind of went over. But we could just do questions. A lot of you aren't in physics classes yet, so I think these questions I prepared weren't going to be the best anyways. But yeah, any other questions maybe about my experiences or stuff? And this is all based on my experience, right? This is not, I can say generally, like I've taken a lot of math and physics, but these are of course not everyone. So yeah.
Have you taken physics 24?
Not yet. That's going to be, because that's a spring lock class, right? So it's like you can only take that during the spring, but I do plan to take it eventually, right?
Okay.
So that's probably one of the only reasons I haven't taken it yet, but yeah.
Okay, never mind. I was just gonna ask how that.
It's a
one
3-unit class. It's a 3-unit class. I'm pretty sure that it'll be fine. Like as far as physics goes. Have you already taken physics classes?
No, I have to take 21 to 24, but I haven't started yet because actually I thought that I had to finish Math 7 first, and I just found out that I could have taken 21 right now at the same time as Math 7. So.
Yeah, you can take them concurrently. So yeah. That sucks, but whatever. what can you do? It's already passed.
What can you do?
Okay. Any other questions? Lejun, Tian?
Yeah, I have a question. I
Yes.
have taken the physics A in summer, but if I want to change my mind, like I want to take the physics 22, so can I just skip the 21, or I have to take the 21 first?
I'm pretty sure a prerequisite of 22 is 21.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but because when I apply to transfer, but some of the major, they require like the physics A and physics 9 or physics 21 and 22 like that.
Oh, so you already took physics A and then now
yeah
okay,
right.
so is physics A equivalent to physics 21?
They say they are kind of equal, but I think some of them like maybe simple, easier a lot, maybe.
You have to speak with the counselor about the transfer, but because you have to speak with the counselor about what units will cross over and what won't. So if you're going to apply to transfer to another university?
Yeah, so when I look at the chemistry major, they require like physics 21 and 22. But if I look at the biology major, they require like physics 8 and 9 would be 5, or physics 21 and 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would have to talk to your counselor about if any of them are transferable, right? If you can go on to 22 after taking physics A, because I know that some courses may seem very equivalent to each other. Like physics 7 and physics 21 are very, very similar to each other. The difference is one is for engineering or STEM majors, and one is like for nursing or other stuff, or the life majors. And yeah, there's some things that can happen. It also depends on the university of whether they'll take it or not, wherever you're transferring to, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you would speak to a counselor for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully that'll transfer over.
Yeah, thanks, James. That pretty much answered my question because I was gonna ask, like, I'm a computer science like minor.
Okay.
I work in the game industry, so like I'm into game programming. So I just want to know like which physics class that I should take, and they told me like physics 21 because that was like the generic one for like STEM majors. But I'm still kind of confused, like how does it apply to like computer programming, if that makes
Okay.
sense? Yeah.
So physics is about the physical world, right? And so there's different sections, right? So physics 21 is your mechanics,
Right.
right? How things move. If you apply, like if you push something, how far does it go?
Okay.
Right? Or if you throw something, what does it do? If something moves, any movements, right? If you spin something, how much force does it produce? Whatever,
Right.
right? Physics 22 is about electricity and magnetism.
Right.
So how electrons move, if you want to create a circuit, how do you do that? Or kind of like a circuit analysis is its own class, but if there's a circuit and how we analyze how much electricity is flowing through it or whatever, right? And
Okay.
then physics 23 is about fluids, waves, and optics and that other stuff. But for computer science, it depends on what the university wants, I'm pretty sure. Because some do require it, I
Mhm.
think, a little bit. Because some universities, like I think Berkeley, like they pretty closely align electrical engineering and computer science. But
Mhm.
that's for the major. I don't know what's happening for minors, but you don't need to take physics classes for as a direct, like, to learn computer science,
Right. Right.
right?
Because I think it was mainly like vectors. That's what I need to learn if I was going to
Mm,
try to right for like movement and how 3D objects and
yeah.
stuff.
If
Yeah.
it's vectors, then physics 21 would be great, right? I
Oh,
think
cool.
better than the calculus 3 because calculus 3 is very intensive. But
I got you.
yeah, to answer your questions, are you,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
I have one more question, if I may. I heard that there was a I don't know what it's. I don't even know what physics it is, but
Right.
it's like
Everyone sign in use with the links here. Sorry. Yeah. Everyone fill in that form. That'll show your attendance here. Very important. And yeah. And Luca, what's your question again?
it's it's I heard that there was some kind of like intro to physics or something that you take like before the general. I don't even know what it. I just think about it. And it's like supposed to prepare you for physics 8 and 9 or physics 21. Is
Mm,
there such a
there probably is. Right.
okay?
A lot of science classes do have classes to prep for the science. Right. But you don't have to take it. That's, I think the people who should take it really are ones who are like transferring over from a non-STEM to a STEM. But generally, yeah, you don't need to take it. You can if you feel like you need to brush up on some basic concepts and stuff, like just some math and some concepts that physics teachers assume you know. But yeah. Is that fine? Is that a good enough answer? Yeah, so I don't know. I haven't looked at it, the existence of like an intro to physics, but yeah, that's usually what happens. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Any other questions? Have you guys all filled out that form? That's it, or the form or the link that I put in the thing in the chat is very
Yeah, I already
important
filled
for
it
you
out.
to do that. Yeah, cool. Just making sure so no one. Yeah, I don't think anyone else.
I'm filling it out right now.
Yeah, cool, cool. Okay, anyone else? Maximo, Chloe, Alexander, Justin?
Nope, all good. Thank you so much.
All good? Yes. Okay. Yeah, all good. That's perfect. Yes, and hopefully you guys do well in your physics classes, right? Very intensive, and just be prepared mentally, right? As some of you are doing that right now. And yeah, I guess if there's no more questions, that's the end of this workshop. And hopefully all of you guys have a great day. I went a little bit over, but hey, what can we do?
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem, Jim. Have a great day, guys. Hey, Justin, do you have a question? No? Okay. Well, have a great day. And yeah,